You may have a lot more time to practice these days. Well, this can be a great thing, but there are some common mistakes that people make when they have more time to practice. Today, I'm going to briefly show you how to avoid these common mistakes and show you some tricks to get the most out of your practice session. So let's get to it. Okay, so here are 3 common mistakes that people make when they're practicing, especially when they have a lot more time to practice. Okay, so number 1 would be practicing too much. So most studies show that people can't really focus more than 45 minutes, like really focus, and probably the average person probably doesn't really focus for more than 30 minutes, and being extremely focused when you're practicing is very important. You can't just go through the motions, you've really got to be thinking and challenging yourself while you're practicing. So the best thing to do is to just break your practice session up in smaller pieces, and it'll be a lot easier to practice more, and your practice sessions will be a lot more effective. So for example, you can take maybe a 2 or 3 minute break in between all the different sections of your practice. So for example, a lot of people will practice, they'll have their warm up, right? So you have your scales, and then you can take a break, and then you have your etude or your exercises, take a break, and then you have your pieces, take a break. Now, if you don't have all these different types of things to practice when you're practicing, like scales and etudes and exercises and different pieces, you can simply break what you are practicing into smaller pieces. So for example, let's say you're just practicing a piece and a scale. So warm up with your scales and then take a little break, and then get your piece and then break your piece up into sections. So let's say it's 2 pages and you are really focusing on learning 1 page. Just practice half of that page, really focus, like 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever it is, and then take a short little break. Go to the restroom, have a glass of milk and a cookie, whatever, take a break, and then resume your practicing session. So you just have to monitor how really focused you are. Are you really paying attention? Are you really playing things correctly? And that'll tell you when it's time to take a break. Okay, the second common error is to not warm up properly. Now, especially if you have several practice sessions during the day, you may be tempted to not warm up. Now, warming up is just really important, mostly because you can injure yourself when you're not warmed up. And you have to make sure that your mind is warmed up, because if your mind is not warmed up, then you're not focusing on your practice. So it's really important to always warm up when you're practicing. Now, how much should you warm up? Well, as a general rule, most people will spend at least 15 minutes to do a proper warm-up. As a general rule, the more advanced you are as a player, or the more advanced your age is, you'll want to warm up more, right? So you could warm up, it could take you, 20, 25 minutes. Most people will warm up with scales, right? But just remember, you want to start your scales really slow and then build the speed, preferably with a metronome. And of course, you always want to use 4th finger if you can, because using that 4th finger in your left hand is going to help your left hand warm up a lot faster. Okay, the third thing to remember for your practice sessions is an old adage. Don't practice something until you get it right. Practice something until you can't get it wrong. Remember, your brain will memorize everything that you do, whether it's good or bad. So your goal when you're practicing is always to play something correctly as many times as you can. So you want to remember to build the speed, right? Because the most important thing that you can do for your mind is to play something correctly as many times as you can. The speed is not nearly as important as playing something a certain way as many times you can. So the common trick is to play something slowly, but play it 10 times in a row without making a mistake. Then you play it a little bit faster, 10 times in a row without making a mistake. Eventually, if you keep on repeating this process of gradually increasing the speed and making sure you don't make any mistakes, which with each iteration, you'll be surprised at what you can play. There are some things that you probably think that you can't play, but if you practice with this particular methodology, you'll be able to play amazing things. So I hope you guys found this video helpful. And as usual, if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. I answer pretty much most of the questions that I get, and they're fuel for more videos. I hope you guys are having a safe week. I hope you guys have a great practicing week. And as always, happy practicing.